Welcome to the Luke Coutinho Show, where we can learn to reimagine our lifestyle.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Reimagine Your Lifestyle. Today I have a fabulous cardiologist with us, Dr. Nihar. Thank you for being with us. We share common patients, and we've heard so much about you. And thank you for being on the show today, where we talk about just reimagining our lifestyle. Our audience is all over the world, India primarily, and they have questions every day. Some of their questions are out of fear. We see people dropping dead in a gym, at a marathon, what's going on? People have parents with cardiac problems, and there's a lot of fear with social media, with Instagram. There's more opinions and there's more false data than real stuff. So people are really, really confused. And that's why on this show we have experts like you who can come and, break through that confusion with education, experience, science, and everything else. I know how busy you are, but we really, really appreciate you taking time out to be with us today. Thank you, Doctor. And before we start, when I was reading through all of your work, I said only you can do justice to your own introduction with the amount of papers that you've written, your research and your studies. So I would love for you to take us through your journey. Why a doctor? Why a cardiologist? And if you can take us through that journey.
Well, thanks, Luke. It's really a pleasure to be here, and we do have a lot of common patients in general in Bombay. And well, I'm an interventional cardiologist, meaning I get into patients' hearts, their coronary arteries, and take out blockages and fix valve diseases. But my initial getting into medicine is more like a family thing for us. We come from a family of diamond merchants, but my family, my grandfather and father were both doctors. So I guess, it was like a thing in the house, and it has always been sort of the only thing that I ever thought. I never wanted to be a fireman or a policeman. It was always a doctor. But my journey has been largely through Bombay. My training was all in Bombay, Somaya Hospital, Jaslok Hospital. That's where I've been trained in cardiology and medicine. But then I've taken a lot of training stints abroad, all the way from Korea to Budapest and San Francisco and New York. And I think what I've realized is that, while we fix people's coronary arteries when they get a heart attack, what I tell patients is that our work starts after the angioplasty or after fixing it with a stent, because the job of the patient and the doctor should be that the patient should be so well taken care of that they should never ever require to come back to the cath lab for another procedure. And I think if we can highlight that for our patients and help them through that journey, it really is going to prevent. Our preventive role in our country is really understated.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm happy that you mentioned that, because there are two kinds of populations. Now there's a population that will not want to go through a heart attack or coronary problems, so they invest in prevention. And there are people who have reached that point and they're currently patients. But I like what you said, there's still something that they can do to prevent themselves from coming back for the second stent or for another procedure. So doctor, where do you see that gap, and from your experience of dealing with so many patients?
Yeah. So I think now we are faced with, like you said, there are two types of patients. There'll be one who, the newer generation, I feel, is really health conscious now. They're getting better and better. They're getting more into regular checkups. They're getting more into understanding their health. The earlier we start focusing on prevention, even from our children and from teenagers, people who start focusing on their health in their early 20s and 30s also, they have a lot to gain, because when you get coronary disease or strokes or blockages in your arteries, the average age to develop that is between 40 and 45. And India, of course, is a decade earlier than our friends in the West. So you don't develop a blockage at the age of 40. It starts much, much earlier. It starts in your late 20s, in your early 30s, and slowly the plaque builds up in your arteries because of cholesterol, blood pressure, diabetes, smoking. We know all these things. But the kind of people who start focusing early on prevention, they have an advantage over the others. So if you take care of your exercise schedules, your sleep patterns, stress levels, your diet, of course, avoid bad habits like smoking, any kind of tobacco, you have an advantage over the others. It's not just a I don't have diabetes and blood pressure. There are metabolic changes which are happening in our body all the time. In some studies that have been published many years back, we all know smoking is the number one problem which can really cause coronary disease. But you know what the second thing was to prevent heart problems in the future? The second most likely thing to prevent heart problems is a good diet which includes 2 fruits a day, 2 bowls of vegetables or salads a day, and some nuts. So we have to take positive action, not just preventive action. You have to invest in your health. You have to invest in spending some time on a good amount of cardio exercise, some physical training with weight training and endurance training, as well as focusing on our mental health. All these actions will prevent problems in the future. And then there's a second population who've already had the heart attack, who've already got a stent in place. And what we tell these people very frequently is a stent is not a cure. A stent is just a bridge. It'll treat the problem, the blockage, which is the serious blockage. But what about the other arteries? You can't put stents everywhere. You have to make sure that there is no further plaque buildup. You have to make sure that your heart handles the change in the circulation, it handles the change in the functionality which is afforded by the stent. And stents are not foolproof. Even in the best, the best placed stent or the best done bypass, it has a failure rate. Over around 10 years, 8 to 12% of people will have a second blockage. And that is what we have to focus on preventing. So once you've got a blockage, your journey starts. You have to sort of take a decision that, look, now I want to take my health back into my control. Sometimes with the kind of work style, the working culture, the stressful nature of our life, especially in cities, we see young people, 30s, 35s, getting the heart attacks. But once they decide to take a grip on their life, we see patients who've lived 20 years plus without having required a second intervention or a second problem. And I think the key for them is discipline. That discipline, when it comes in, when you realize that no amount of money, no amount of fame, no amount of popularity can purchase health.
Beautiful.
The only thing that you can do is take care of your own health, and that has to be highlighted, for these patients.
That's beautiful, doctor. I think that's beautiful what you just said, because a lot of people, I'm not just going to say in India, they think their money can buy anything. And I guess it comes from a feeling of entitlement that you have a lot of money. I mean, we had patients from some in India and some from abroad saying that, hey, Luke, near kidney failure, cocaine overdose, abuse and stuff, but you can get me another kidney, right? You can get me another liver, right? You can get a heart, right? Heart transplants happen. So I think that mindset of feeling entitled, that because you can afford it and buy it, you think you can buy an organ to replace one. They don't understand the complications. And I like what you spoke about, the possible failure rate that also can potentially happen. Doctor, I want to pick up on something that you spoke beautifully, because we see a strong connection between sleep deprivation, inflammation, and heart problems. It's like clear, and I think every research paper talks about the correlations between this. And we're living in a city and a country which is literally sleep deprived. I mean, it's not common to see, usually my bedtime is 9:30, but sometimes I'm on the way back from the airport, and 11 in the night, you'll see families out in their car, kids heads out of the window, out of the sunroof at 11, 12 on a weekday, which makes me think that, what time are you waking up in the morning? So sleep deprivation is something that our data shows us every day. It's the most common thing amongst patients. In fact, junk food and stuff, people are aware. They're cutting it down. But as a doctor, as a cardiologist, can you explain the importance of sleep, the correlation, and what you're seeing in your practice with patients and the impact on the heart?
So I think you've hit a very, very important point, because we know about the traditional risk factors. What are the traditional risk factors for developing heart disease, strokes, etc.? Smoking, diabetes, blood pressure, cholesterol, and stress. These are the traditional risk factors. But what the entire globe is now going to add to this list is sleep. Because if we don't focus on our sleep, the body makes changes. A simple way to think about it is that sleep is like recharging ourselves. If you have a mobile phone, you will recharge it at night, otherwise the battery gets depleted. Sleep is another way, it's a simpler way to think of sleep like that recharge. Sleep deprivation has been shown to produce inflammatory changes, insulin resistance, it increases the risk of getting blood pressure problems, increases the risk of your adrenaline levels go higher. There is a really good paper on what is called the circadian rhythm, where there is supposed to be a certain level of activity that we have in the day, and then we are supposed to slow down, let our body heal, let our body recover from the stresses of the day. And this is not just mental stress, this is stress at a cellular level, stress at an organ level. So typically for males, you need 7 to 8 hours of sleep, and women need a little more, they need 8 to 9 hours of sleep. So that should be achieved. Couple of things about sleep. There is a whole concept of sleep hygiene. Sleep hygiene basically starts with the time of sleep. You should sleep before midnight, not post midnight. The atmosphere, the environment you have when you sleep should be conducive to sleep. You can't sleep with the TV on. You shouldn't sleep with loud noises in in your surroundings. What you should also avoid is eating or drinking too much stuff, at least for a couple of hours before sleep. Caffeine, having coffee too much after 6 or 7 o'clock will sort of wire your brain up. And I think the most important point is mobile phones. What we do is, think about this, you're on your phone, you're on WhatsApp, you're on an email, you're watching Netflix, you're swiping between windows, so your brain is doing 10 things at a time. And then you say, oh, now I'm tired, you switch off the phone and you think you're going to go to sleep. So your brain is doing 10 things, and in 1 second it's not going to switch off. So you need to teach your brain to start learning, to start getting into the sleep mode. So your sleep hygiene should involve being off the mobile or any electronic, even for at least an hour or so before sleep. Read something simple like a book, listen to music. All these things contribute to sleep hygiene. When someone sleeps early, wakes up early, their metabolism is at an ideal level. There are a lot of changes we see in our hormonal patterns even between 4 and 6 in the morning. Our hormone levels spike, our steroid hormones change. This is why we see a higher spike in blood pressure and heart attacks early in the morning, because there is something called a morning surge of blood pressure. If our entire sleep pattern is changed, all those rhythms completely change. And then your health becomes completely unpredictable. We are seeing a large number of young children, I won't say children, but people who are in their between 18 and 25 age group. They've started working. Either they are working on social media platforms as influencers, where a lot of the social events occur late at night. A lot of these people are also working at different time zones. People are working with USA or with Japan. It's now become a global world. So people need to stay awake at night. They think that sleeping late at 3 or 4 in the morning and then sleeping 8 hours till 12 or 1 in the afternoon is okay. But that is not how our body is made. These sleep patterns, they maintain their rhythm irrespective of the time you go to sleep. So you need to make sure that your rhythms match your body rhythms. And I think one important thing that we need to speak about when we talk about sleep is sleep apnea. A lot of people, because of obesity and because of obstructions in their airways, develop what is called sleep apnea, where during sleep your oxygen levels transiently go down. It's not like when you check your oxygen on a pulse oximeter or a saturation probe. You know how in COVID we used to keep checking our oxygen, it would come down, we would panic. These are momentary, these are transient drops in oxygen, which don't allow your body to sleep well. So between the phases of sleep, which is the non-REM and the REM sleep, your body stays in a completely REM phase, which is not the restful phase. And you keep having these short cycles of wakefulness, and it doesn't allow you to sleep. Sleep apnea is the exaggeration of being sleep deprived. And unless we test for it and unless we treat it, people are exposed to a lot of risks from hair loss, skin changes, thyroid problems, heart problems, to heart attacks, strokes. Everything has been linked with sleep apnea. So if we start making sure that our sleep habits, our sleep hygiene is good, we are really reducing one important risk factor for all these other issues which we just spoke about.
Oh, no, that's brilliant. I think you've covered the whole module on sleep and its importance. But yeah, you are right about that. I think one of the most common symptoms we see now, where before we send our patients for a sleep apnea or a sleep study test, is the common expression that, hey, Luke, I woke up, had my breakfast, I'm in my car from Calabar to Pedder Road, and I fall asleep in the day. They're sleeping throughout.
Oh, yeah.
And then they're diagnosed, they're on a CPAP, and they sleep like babies. But it has a huge connection with diabetes as well, right?
Very true.
And heart disease. So for sleep, yeah, you spoke about sleep, and I like the word you spoke about, slow down, as per circadian rhythms. So when I was in Africa, there's one learning I had. I was with the Maasai tribe. We had gone on a project for malnourishment and nutrition, and there's one thing that I learned from them. One of the Maasai leaders, he said, just look around at all the animals. Okay, there are night animals, nocturnal, and there are day animals. You will never find them changing their rhythms. But human beings are the only species who will challenge the circadian rhythm, and with that you have imbalances which now become problems, pains, and eventually inflammation and diseases.
Yeah, absolutely.
So slowing down as per the cycles of nature, I think just revokes it stimulates a natural intelligence in the body to just do the right thing at the right time. So doctor, whenever you do stents and procedures, tell me what you see. What do you see, the intelligence in the human body? What I'm leaning towards is angiogenesis. It's one of my favorite subjects because the nutrition we do is very cellular in level. There are foods that can promote angiogenesis, like in cases of stroke patients where there's not enough of growth of blood vessels to form new capillaries. And then there's anti-angiogenic, like in cases of cancers and tumors where the blood vessels are growing uncontrollably.
Right.
So I remember having a patient once, and he was a doctor, okay, in the US, and he says, I have a blockage of 95% in one of my arteries, okay? I was advised to do all of my procedures and stuff, no high blood pressure, nothing had changed in his body, active person, but he had a 95% blockage, and this was at the age of 61 or 62. So he changed his entire lifestyle. He was under medical supervision, being in a hospital, part of a hospital. And he worked on a process of, with my workouts and with my food, can I increase the amount of capillaries and blood flow around the artery which had a blockage? He was obviously advised that it's dangerous, it's tricky, you should get the whole thing done. But he actually did it. This is not a message for people to do it on their own. But do you see this intelligence in the heart to grow new capillaries when you start exercising? Or like people who climb mountains and hike, they have larger hearts with more capillaries for blood flow. I would love for you to share your experience on the intelligence within the heart. So it also inspires people that if I work out, I can actually make my heart stronger, have more capillaries. So in case I have a problem, it may not just be a drop dead situation, but I can catch the blockage in time and take my medical, treatment according to that.
So I think, see, there's an important message here. And I think the message should be that, our bodies are very intelligent. Our body has, we have a God-given resilience and we have a God-given capacity to adjust. You will see, like you said, a patient who's got 90 or 100% blockage,
yeah.
and they live their entire life without having a symptom.
Yeah.
They have a heart pumping maybe going down to 30% and they'll still be okay. And conversely, you'll see a 60% heart pumping athlete, regular in their health checkups, etc., dropping dead all of a sudden with a heart problem. So I think we should understand what is the treatable conditions that should be treated and how much we should address with our lifestyle changes as well. Now our heart, basically the angiogenesis that you're talking about, the heart is very sensitive to hypoxia or low oxygen levels. So when you have slowly developing blockages, a plaque which builds up from 10, 30, 50, 60, 70%, your heart intelligently adjusts. The low oxygen stimulates your angiogenesis. It stimulates little capillaries, collateral channels to give the heart that different blood flow from supply where it is coming well. And that is a situation where people get, in their health checkup, they get a positive stress test or they start getting angina. But on the other end of the spectrum, we have a person who has got no risk factors, who's got maybe a tiny plaque somewhere, and that plaque suddenly ruptures. And that is what is called a heart attack, where from 0 or 10%, that blockage goes to straight away 100%. And in that situation, your heart is not going to give you time. Then your heart goes on strike. It doesn't have channels of readjustment and of adjusting to that hypoxia, which is a slow process. So if your patient got that 100% block overnight or in a span of few minutes, then treating the person, putting in the stent, getting rid of the blockage is really important. But there is a whole large subset of patients who have what is called chronic ischemia or chronic coronary syndromes. And those patients do have options. If they're getting discomfort, angina, breathlessness, or a drop in their heart functions, then definitely it's advisable to go ahead, put in stents, and save the heart. But there is an option for these patients to go for medical management in the right scenario. And that is where a collaboration between a wellness coach and a doctor comes in. I think, everyone is very busy nowadays. Today, doctors will have a list of patients in their clinics. They may not get enough time to talk to the patient about this holistic health issue. The patient you spoke about who's got the 95% block, it's not like he did nothing. With effort and with investment into his own health, he could achieve the sort of health which he did achieve. So you do have patients who come and tell me that, look, doctor, I want to try without putting in a stent. So there are ways to do that. We do certain scans, certain tests to tell the level of ischemia, the level at which the heart is at risk. And nowadays these sophisticated scans called nuclear scans or dobutamine echoes, these scans tell us that, okay, your heart does have low blood flow, but it is in a range or in a percentage which can be managed with lifestyle changes.
That's brilliant.
So I think that if I have that patient and I tell him, okay, take these medicines and we'll review it again in 6 months, I've not done my job. I have to focus on at least 3 or 4 different aspects of his health. Number one is his diet. Like I said earlier, the fruits, vegetables, nuts, and avoiding all our processed foods, etc. The junk food, people do know what they should not eat. They must focus on cardio. What people think is nowadays that, in terms of recommendations, what do we want for a patient to do good cardio, the heart amount of cardio? In gyms, what trainers tell people, let's do a cardio for 10 or 15 minutes, but that is not enough. We need cardio at least 30 minutes a day, which amounts to around 200 minutes a week. For people who don't have that time, taking out 60 minutes on alternate days is also good enough. But getting in that 200, 250 minutes of cardio every week, that is what will allow angiogenesis. That is what will stimulate your heart to metabolize better, to get its oxygen sources better, to change the metabolism at the cellular level. And that will also then subsequently translate into lower blood pressure, into improved circulation, not just at the heart level. This circulation will get better for the brain, for the legs, for the kidneys, and eventually lead to better health. And the third thing is stress. If we don't focus on having lesser amount of stresses, taking some time out to, work on your stress, work on your mental health, equally important. And last, what we discussed is, of course, sleep. So all these things are equally important as compared to the medicines which we are giving, which is helping and aiding in this process of health maintenance.
Doctor, thanks for explaining that. And that's why I'm so impressed with your practice, because it is so integrated. You talk about the 4 pillars of integrative medicine over and above your treatments that you do and the medicines that you have to prescribe, which is what makes the whole system, holistic. And we have immense respect for the work that you do. But you spoke about these things. I want to go back to athletes, because there's this whole mindset that, because I run, because I train in the gym, nothing can happen to me. But we see these cases of not just young kids, teenagers, but even fit people in their 30s, 40s, 50s. One is the marathon. We know every year 2 or 3 people drop dead, but even in the gyms. And while the news and the social media will try to push everyone, it's the vaccine, it's this, it's that. I mean, we're missing other points. We were having a discussion before the podcast. I would like for you to explain that, how when you have an athlete's heart, how that can work for you and against you if you don't integrate the fundamentals of lifestyle and good living as well. I would love for you to address that point on the reason why. So today a lot of people think that, oh, people are dropping dead because of the protein shake or because of this. And I mean, you may have some validity in a small few cases, but you're missing the bigger part where, we see people who are gymming or running and they're up till 3 in the morning. And then they sleep for 3 hours and wake up because they got to go to work. But because they think they're training, they think they're going to be healthy, but they're missing out on the fundamentals. I would love for you to address this.
So, there are two types of athletes. The ones who are doing it professionally.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that they do get a regular checkup. They do. I mean, a lot of athletes who are doing it professionally will get their heart checked regularly. They will get endurance checks regularly. They do cardiopulmonary stress tests regularly to see that is their heart adjusting to this or not. And that is very important because there is a serious disease called athlete's heart, where your heart doesn't. So when we sort of train our heart for endurance training, the heart muscle becomes thicker. The heart starts beating at a slower rate, and there are changes which occur at the heart at the metabolic level. This allows the heart to compensate for the increased demand when your body is requiring that extra oxygen, when your muscles are requiring the extra flow. But sometimes compensation can become overcompensation. And instead of just becoming a little thicker, the heart becomes so thick that it becomes an ineffective pump. As long as professional athletes check this, they are actually advised to get off athletics or stop playing sports if they have gone into the pathological range of athlete's heart. So this is not just adjustments, but this is over adjustment, and anything in excess is harmful. But what happens to the people who are regular gymmers, people who are who have the mindset that, oh, I've been running all these years and nothing can happen to me. People who are not athletic, who have other jobs, who have other professions, but they are focusing on their health and focusing on their gymming or their running. So for these people, what happens is that we live in a bubble of feeling that nothing can happen to me because I exercise, because I'm fit, I'm not overweight, nothing can happen to me. And that is where the problem occurs. That highlights the role of regular checkups and to see that you're doing the healthy things like the exercise, but it should not be at a level which is causing the overcompensation or causing the harmful effects. Now this will happen at couple of stages. Long-term regular training, if you've done that and you've not done a cardiac checkup, then that should be done so that you know that your body can endure that training. Remember, we are all aging every single minute, and what you could do at 25, you probably can do at 40 as long as your body is compensated. But if it shows that there are differences or changes in your heart, you need to slow down or you need to adjust the level of activities. Similarly, what we also don't realize is that as we age, there are some factors which we know, the risk factors we spoke about, but there are so many unknowns in our body. We never think about our genetics. We never think about our the risk factors which are unknown to us yet, which science has not discovered yet, which is contributing to coronary disease. I'll give you the example of a 32-year-old. This chap was a banker. He works in a very big bank at a high post. He's gone up the ladder very quickly, very efficient, very intelligent chap. He had no risk factors whatsoever. No BP, no sugar, no cholesterol. His BMI was good, a good weight. He used to walk every day for around 30 to 45 minutes, take great care of his health. And in the middle of COVID, at the age of 32 or 33, he came to me with a sudden massive heart attack. And it took me 15 minutes to convince him that he needs an angio because he was in a state of denial in the emergency department. No, doctor, to do another ECG. Are you sure? How can I have a heart attack? I have no problem. My dad is 80 years old. He's got no heart problems. I have no BP, no sugar. He was in a complete state of denial. Finally, when we opened this blockage up and there was a big emotional outburst. And he said, look, the only thing I can think about is stress. I said, yes, stress is important, but there are many other factors in our life which we don't know about. So he changed his lifestyle. He took a step back from his work. He's now, I think, 5 or 6 years into his health, and he's doing very well. But these things happen. God gave him a gift that he reached the emergency in time. But how many people of his age who are athletes, who are gymming, who are running, working out, having no problems, live in that bubble of, oh, I'm healthy, nothing can happen to me. And that is where we need to be careful with our gyms and training. I think we also need to talk about the. I do advise patients that it's very good to have a trainer in a gym, because they should push you in the right direction. But we should also give an important message to everyone listening, is that when it comes to supplements, when it comes to any kind of additional tablets, products, injections which are offered in gyms, they should be absolutely put to a no. Not all supplements. There are some supplements which are, when they're taken at a certain level, is good. Today, if you've started going to the gym and you're starting to take supplements, that's not worth it. But once you've gotten into a good program, and when you're burning enough muscles, once you need to supplement your proteins, that's when you can get into the supplements. But it should never be at the right in the beginning. We should also make sure that while we are focusing on health, the body image is an important issue also. People want to suddenly look like a film star, like your Hrithik Roshan or Arnold Schwarzenegger. They want to get that body in a matter of months. And that kind of sudden body transformation is also very unhealthy, because you're pushing your body, your muscles, your heart to levels which are not healthy. So everything needs to be done at its right pace.
I'd like to add on to your message, because we work a lot with Bollywood as well, and I think people need to know that their lifestyles are very different from you and me, who have jobs to do. They have chefs to cook, their calories are counted, they're on recovery supplements, their job is to eat, sleep and train. But we have so much beyond that, so the burden that we put, and you are right about the use of supplements. Just because it sounds good, you have people overdoing it on so many supplements. I mean, like the word supplement, you supplement a deficiency. So now if we know your muscles growing, you need more amino acids, your protein requirement goes up. But you have people taking shakes and sedentary, or they miss their workout, but they're still taking the shake. And that's the problem with so many unregulated supplements in our country. Anabolics are available everywhere, and we see the destruction that happens there. But doctor, I wanted to talk about this, since you are speaking about gyms. What are the tests that you recommend for people? Like, there are people going to the gym, but I think when a lot of parents bring their young teenagers to us, they want to start lifting weights at 15, 16, 17 and stuff like that. So they want them to be assessed. What are some of the tests that you would advise people to do? So besides 2D echoes, stress tests, what else would you advise people to do, so that we know that we're training, we're not overcompensating, like you said?
Well, we should, when we are advising tests, we should advise them when there is, like individualize it to a particular patient. There is no blanket list, but a basic cardiac checkup. For a teenager, a simple ECG and an echo is a good test to start off with. If the teenager is getting into an athletic level of sports, then a cardiopulmonary stress test or a stress test to see their endurance is really important as well. I think another factor which has not been accounted for in our country is our cholesterols and our lipoproteins. Because, we spoke about genetics, and Indians tend to be, their cholesterol patterns are different from people who are in the West. We have a lower amount of HDL or good cholesterol. We have a higher amount of triglycerides. And sometimes we translate this to our children, to our next generations, and it's just never detected. How many of us have had our teenage children checked for cholesterol? And why should you, right? Because it's not really required at a younger age. But I had a patient who, he had his first heart attack at 35, his second one at 40. And by the time he was 42, 43, his heart was just functioning at 20, 30%. I told him that, based on his cholesterol profile, I said, you know what, your genetic factors are so high that you need to get your children checked. And he tested his kids at 12 and 14, and they had cholesterols about 250. Now, when he turned 50, he called me up on his 50th birthday and said, doctor, I'm the first person in my family to survive to 50, because we started him on the intense cholesterol control, the intense level of management for his heart condition in a preventive way. And he survived. He said, I'm the only one. My father, my brother, nobody has survived to 50. And I'm very hopeful for his kids because they may be in their late teens now, but they now know that we have to take care of our health.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't recommend a blanket set of tests, but based on the intensity of which you want to start training, someone who wants to start a mild routine can then do that without worrying much. But in that case, you need to be careful about the symptoms that you have. If you're getting extremely tired, if you're getting overly exhausted with training, if you're getting, of course, if you're getting chest pain, breathlessness, muscle aches and pains, these things are something which warrant immediate action, you know. So don't neglect your body. It talks to you. So you need to listen to the problems that it throws out to you. I'll give you another example. You know, one of my cousin brothers in Belgium, he had started this very intense level of exercise, and he had started spinning, you know, like cycling at a very high intensity. He did it very well for around maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Suddenly one day he called me and said, you know, I mean, I'm absolutely fine. I'm doing this on a daily basis, but today I just noticed a very small thing. My urine has turned brown.
Okay.
So I said, you have to go to the hospital now, drop whatever you're doing. He had developed what is called rhabdomyolysis, where because of over-exercise, your muscles start degenerating and it causes a lot of kidney failure and toxicity. So listen to your body. You know, it will give you warnings at times. And I think these athletes who we keep hearing about who are dropping dead engines, some of them do get warnings, some don't. But I think that if we are checking ourselves after a certain amount of exercise, you know, below the age of 30, every 5th year is enough when you're getting a regular checkup done. In your regular checkup, a couple of things which we must do are your cholesterols, your thyroid profiles. India has also got a big deficiency of thyroid hormones. So thyroid cholesterol should be part of it, and simpler things like your hemoglobin and electrolytes. All these things go a long way in making sure that you're healthy, not just for the exercise, but for your general health as well.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And coming back to the cardio point that you spoke when you were taking us through the 4 pillars, you know, for a senior citizen, someone who's in their 60s and 70s, the cardio that you're talking about for 30 minutes, if they can't run or jog, walking is also good enough, a brisk walk, as per your definition of cardio? Would that be okay?
So there are 4 or 5 things which come into the purview of cardio. Of course, walking, and the walk should be brisk as you can.
Yeah, so maybe a zone 1 that would come into a zone 1.
Absolutely, because that is what we call moderate exercise. You know, then there is high intensity exercise, but what we want to offer everybody in general, like whether you've had a heart problem or not, you should eventually try and achieve a moderate amount of exercise on a day-to-day basis. So one is a walk. Second is a little more than a walk would be a jog or a run. Swimming. I think maybe everyone does not have access to swimming pools, but swimming is one of the best exercises if you have any kind of orthopedic problem. It offloads your joints. You're not going to be putting weight on your knees or your hips or your back. So it's going to give you an avenue to do the cardio and not injure yourself as well. So I tell a lot of patients who, I don't know how to swim, doctor. I said, you don't need to know how to swim. Get into the shallow part of the pool and just walk. Walk in the shallow. Now you have so many people doing aqua aerobics. It's not easy. You know, you should try and do it once. It's very tough to do exertion in pools because you're continuously getting some amount of resistance from that water. So walking, jogging, swimming, cycling. Cycling also is a very good amount of cardio. And the last would be a intense level of yoga or functional training. And I'm not talking about just asanas, but there is power yoga where people do a lot of cardio gets your heart rate up. So cardio is defined as going up on your heart rate and maintaining that heart rate
for a period of time.
So if you do a 100-meter sprint, that's not cardio. Your heart rate will go very fast, but it will come down also very fast.
So that can come under endurance, training for endurance.
So we want a maintained heart rate in that 60 to 75 is target for your age and that should be maintained for a period of 30 to 45 minutes. That is what I mean by a regular amount of cardio.
Yeah, got it. That's just for our senior population, so they know they can still start off no matter what age they're at.
I think age should not be a factor.
Yeah.
Age should not be a factor. Nowadays, we have people living till 80s, 90s, even a 75-year-old. Why should they not target living up to that age at that magic figure of 100?
Yeah.
Because health is now so much in our control. With the scientific advances, we can cure so many cancers now. We can buy you so much more time with stents and with bypass surgeries. We can change your valves if they are abnormal. We have a list of medicines for blood pressure, diabetes, etc. So if your risk factors are taken care of, and then if you put in some time and effort, I don't think age should be a factor. We have the oldest person who I had sent for a bypass surgery was at the age of 88, and he told me, "Doctor, I just want to outlive my wife because I've promised her that I won't die before you."
Beautiful.
So and he's now over 90. He's doing very well. And
we have a similar patient. He did a bypass, two stents and a bypass between 60 and 69. He's 101 today.
Wow.
Walks every day, eats simple food, no outside food, once in a way. We celebrated his 101st birthday last year. But so I love studying the lives of people who live long, because I'm always trying to see what are they doing differently. But it's not like he had a clean life. He started at 69.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But that shows what you said, the brilliance of the body to actually, if you give it a platform, its intelligence starts to work for you. So
absolutely. Let me give you another example, because this gentleman came to me from Africa, and he had a heart which was just functioning at 15 or 20%. He was over 130 kilos, not because of weight, because of the fluid which had built up in his body. So while we gave him all the medications required, we told him that, look, you're quite young. He was 61. And I told him that, look, we have to get you fit so that you can get a heart transplant. Let's change your heart. And he took my advice so seriously. He took every point I told him. What we've been discussing, he sleeps well. He exercises regularly. When he came to me, he couldn't walk 2 steps to get onto my examination table. He had to take deep breaths. With the medicines, he lost around 20-25 kilos of water, and then he lost weight. Then he sort of got healthy. He's now below 100 kilos. His heart actually has started functioning better because it has started adjusting well. It's gone to that 25-30%. As of today, he doesn't need his heart transplant.
Wow.
His heart is not normal, but he does not need that next level of care, because based on his lifestyle, he's made significant changes.
That's beautiful.
So these are success stories, but they are possible. He's just another average Joe like you and me. It's just that he decided one day that I'm going to change my heart health. And he did it. So it is possible. Age is not a factor. We have patients who are we do these procedures called TAVI, which is valve replacements. We do it through the leg without open heart surgery. And these procedures are meant for people who are above the age of 65 and 70. So the oldest gentleman we did was around 88, 89 years old. His life story was, I love driving. He stayed in Thane. He used to drive all around, and he used to take his wife to all the doctors for visits. And suddenly he started fainting. He had 2 episodes of fainting, 2 fractures, and then his heart, they discovered that his valve is choked up. And at 88, he said, "Doctor, if you can get me back to my car and my drives, and I'll be very obliged." So at 88, the surgeons weren't willing to operate on him. We went in, changed his valve. He got back to driving within 2 months. He drove back from Thane on his 90th birthday to come back and show me his reports, and we got him a little cake. And so these are so, it just tells you that age should not be a factor.
Beautiful, doctor.
And at any age, there is no age to turn over a new leaf. If today you're 80, or if you're 40, or if you're 20, and if you feel that my health is not in my control at the moment. I've started to get sugars, my BP has got borderline. there is no time to say, look, let's take a step back.
Yeah.
There will be compromises.
Mm.
Sometimes you have to take a step back from work.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to know how to say no. You know, today as a doctor, I'll tell you my story, because this is something which I had struggled with in the initial part of my career. When I started work, I got into one hospital in South Bombay, second one, third one. I was at a time going to 6 hospitals.
Wow.
I realized that I'm spending so much time in the car, seeing 2 patients here, 15 patients there, 5 patients here, 1 patient there. And at some point I was going home at 10 o'clock at night, doing my reading, research till 2 in the morning. And at some point I had to tell myself that this is not the life I want. You know, you have to say no at some point to things so that you can take care of your own health. You know,
True.
I cut down 2 hospitals. I've started getting up at 6 o'clock to start doing some kind of exercise and yoga. And unless we take these, and this is me, this is what I have done, because you have to realize that there is a time when you need to take a step back, look at yourself and see, look, am I in a healthy state or not? And if you don't do that, you may be very successful, you may be very, you may have you may be very popular doctor or a popular banker or a popular stockbroker, but you're going to give up on your health, you're going to give up on your family life, you're going to give up on your friends, and I think that's never worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those are the biggest regrets of most of our patients. But I love what you said about when the human mind decides that, hey, I want to make that change, everything becomes more easier. Then people move from motivation to inspiration. You know, and that's where behavioral change comes. Doctor, since you spoke about that case with a lot of water, I just wanted to touch upon the point of the misuse of diuretics today. A lot of people, you know, they want diuretics because they've bloated up, which could be several reasons. You have a hormonal imbalance, your lifestyle is poor, but there is a side effect of misusing diuretics on the heart and the kidney. I would love for you to talk about that, please.
You know, maybe we can broaden that discussion.
Sure.
A bit. So every medicine, while it has its benefits, it also has its problems. It also has side effects. Each medicine is designed for a particular reason, and when it is given in a thought out manner, given with certain monitoring, it does do benefits.
Correct.
It does have benefits. Diuretics are not weight loss drugs. You know, when people are bloated, it's not always because of water in their body. Water builds up in your body if you have a kidney, a liver, or a heart disease. And in those situations, to give a diuretic is helping those organs to pass out
Release
a little more urine
Yeah.
and reduce that water. But you know what I tell my patients? Whether they have a kidney or a heart problem, I tell them a diuretic is a whip to your kidneys. It literally will whip your kidney and make it just pass a lot of urine. But what will happen eventually if you keep whipping it? The kidney will start getting damaged and destroyed. The number of patients we have who come with diuretic abuse, who've got creatinine levels, kidney functions going haywire, sodium levels going rock bottom, having a lot of problems with their potassium and magnesium levels going low, and they come with problems. They get cramps, they get kidney failure, and sometimes it's not always reversible. So it's diuretics, if it's given for the wrong reason, it will add to more problems for you, and it will really, it can mess up your kidneys completely. Even a patient who's got a heart problem, the end goal of my diuretic therapy is to keep the diuretic at a bare minimum. In fact, when patients are treated well, their water contents are out and their heart has compensated, we give them no diuretic whatsoever. We give them other better drugs which will help the heart remodel and compensate better.
Got it. Yeah.
So diuretics are absolutely not to be abused. Like all these drugs that we've heard of, anabolics, like you said earlier, these are not drugs which are meant to be given over the counter. They are not meant to be handed over by gym instructors to improve your health. I mean, you know, these are not really, they are not meant for this. They've been designed for really serious cardiac and kidney problems. So they should be used right, you know.
Right.
We should also talk about, when we talk about these medicines and these the effects, the side effects they have, people are always worried when a patient comes to me for the first time and they have high BP or cholesterol. If I write a statin for them or a blood pressure medicine, the first thing that people want to know is, do these drugs have side effects? And all drugs do have side effects.
Yeah.
So if you're taking a diuretic just for improving the way your body looks and forgetting about your kidney and your heart, that's really going to be harmful. You know? So all patients should have a goal to, while they need certain medicines, if they do the right things, try and reverse cholesterol, reverse blood pressure, reverse diabetes. So much is being said on reversal of diabetes and reversal of these metabolic changes which occur. If that can happen, keep your medicine and your pill burden down to a bare minimum. That has to be an end target for most patients. Some will need medicines lifelong because genetic factors cannot be taken into account. But for those who can adjust their lifestyle and get these medicines down to a bare minimum, it's really a big advantage to be on as low medicines as you possibly can be.
Fantastic.
But it's a process. You can't start BP medicines, lose 5 kilos or
And
10 kilos and stop it.
Stop it, yeah.
It's a process. It has to be brought down slowly.
Yeah. Doctor, so thank you so much for your time. Before we end this, I mean, one of the raging questions out there, again, which you've covered in different parts of the conversation, is about the youth today. You know, young people, 20s, 30s, teenagers, starting to embark on their journey of fitness. I know you spoke about moderation, you spoke about being aware of symptoms. What would your message to the younger population be today? You know, I mean, a lot of them want to work out. The biggest thing is, like you said, body image. They're comparing themselves. So I need quick results. If I do this. And that instant gratification, that quick fix, then builds a whole business around that. Hey, I can give you this powder. I can give you this supplement. So what would your message to the youth be to prevent, you know, heart attacks or to do it the right way?
I think the key word there is prevention.
Prevention,
you know? Where if our youth can understand that there is nothing like prevention, it's far better than cure. And if they can focus on that, and there are simple things to do, you know, avoid simply things like, you know, avoid too much salt, processed salt, junk food, avoid too much sugar, that is again the processed sugar. Smoking absolutely is a big no.
So I'll throw in vaping as well, which has become
all kinds
crazy.
of smoking and tobacco. Sedentary lives, you know, so be active as much as you can, not just in the exercise, but even on a day-to-day basis. Walk where you can rather than taking an Uber. You know, small things like that to be less sedentary. You know, take regular checks on your stress and how to de-stress on a day-to-day basis. Not just work hard for 3 months and then take a holiday, but on a day-to-day basis. So the de-stress is important. And sleep that we've spoken about, and make sure that you are regularly getting checkups after the age of around 25 or 30. The frequency should be guided by your doctor based on your particular level of health or family history of health problems. So each individual should have a different routine or regularity in terms of checkups. But you know, simple things. These are all you know, smoking, salt, sugar, sedentary lives, you know, stress, sleep, all these things should be taken care of, and they're not all that difficult. If the younger generation, while focusing on their careers and their success, they should also focus on maintaining a very healthy lifestyle. And then the last thing, of course, is not to neglect your health or not to neglect the warnings that your body is giving you. Nobody is immune to heart problems, to cholesterol problems, to blood pressure problems. Nobody, irrespective of what genes you have, irrespective of how well you're taking care of your health. And that is why it's important to get yourself checked up at regular intervals so that these things don't come on you as a surprise.
Thank you, Doctor. This has been amazing. This last 1 hour has been amazing. Thank you so much.
It's been lovely chatting with you as well.
I mean, thanks for being so open with your own example of how you thought you were burning out and you made corrections as well. Because I think in today's world, a lot of people assume because I'm in this role, my life is stressed. But we all have the ability to make a change, and you did that. And thank you for showing us that path. And all of the information that you shared with us, the lifestyle prevention, it's amazing. Thank you so much, doctor. Really appreciate it.
Nice being here. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Stay tuned for more. We're going to continue our journey, learning, sharing, and evolving.